Councilwoman McCoy?
Here.
Thank you. Councilwoman Oliver is absent with leave. Councilman Owens?
Present.
Thank you. Council President Congo? All righty. As a friendly reminder, only members of the committee should be making motions or second. All righty, we're going to go ahead and start with the agenda. We're going to start with discussing regarding education, youth, and family service strategic plan priorities. Who do we have presenting today?
Hello, my name is Elijah Simmons, back again with Dr. Kendra.
Yes, Dr. Kendra Brumfield Nwangna, Legislative Research and Policy Director for City Council.
WI10, if you can pull up the slide for us. Go over the strategic priorities. Okay, so today we're going to go over the education, youth, and family strategic priorities. Next slide. So what are we trying to accomplish today? So today we're going to review and walk through the priorities raised during the Councilmember one-on-one discussions, and then compare by showing how the chair's priorities align with the themes raised by the other committee members, and then discuss via an open floor feedback opportunity for where you all can answer or ask questions, debate, and have points of agreements. And then also choose a pathway by beginning to narrow towards projects, legislation, or initiative that the committee can work on. Next slide, please. So how did we get here? We got here by January 22nd, strategic plan proposals. There was an agreement that would be made where the priorities would be focused through the standing committees versus an overarching city council strategic plan. And then we had committee member one-on-one discussions where we got the individual priorities. And then we mapped out the themes by having overarching themes and objectives being identified across the members. And then today we have the committee discussion where we talk about those different priorities. Next slide, please. This will be an open discussion where we'll focus on consensus to find out where you all agree, then focus on action, what project, initiative, or legislation can move forward, then focus on clarity to see which priority needs more definition before action, and then also focus on accountability to see what data or reporting you all may request. And then next slide, next steps is to capture feedback, document where you're all aligned, where you disagree, and what needs more work, and then refine priorities by consolidating the discussion into a clearer committee priority statement for the strategic plan, and then identifying actions by naming potential projects, legislation, or initiatives, and then with an end goal of compiling all of these finalized and approved priorities into the final strategic plan document. So next slide, please. We'll have Dr. Kendra talk about the first set of priorities.
Before we go on, I just want to acknowledge Councilwoman Bracy is online.
Thank you.
So these strategic priorities come from the one-on-ones with the chair of the committee, Councilwoman Bracy, and also the committee members. So we use this format just as kind of a structure for the presentation. And so what I would ask as you listen to the information we're going to present is that because education, youth, and families is just so very closely, a lot of the things go hand in hand, is just making sure that you all are comfortable with the things that were pulled out of the feedback you gave, and also that you feel like these objectives are properly placed under these themes, if that makes sense. So the first theme that we pulled out from some of the feedback we got was education, workforce development, and youth empowerment. And so this is based on some of the chair's feedback that youth empowerment should be defined, and that could be through the Wilmington Youth Advisory Council engagement and translating it into measurable action. So along those lines, the committee members mentioned that they would like to strengthen youth engagement through leadership initiatives and continued development of the Wilmington Youth Advisory Council. They would like to expand early childhood education and literacy initiatives to help close long-term achievement gaps. They would like to see an expansion of workforce development, internships, and employment pathways through city programs and partnerships. And they would like to launch some form of after-school tutoring program utilizing possibly retired educators. So within this framework, we wanted to open it up to discussion among you all about if you feel that these objectives are appropriate. Does the theme really correspond with that? And just hear your feedback on any other things that you feel should be added to these strategic priorities related to education, youth, and families in the city of Wilmington.
Do we have any hands up? McCoy. Councilwoman McCoy?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I do love the fact that the chair has actually requested a definement of youth empowerment. I think that it means different things to everyone, and in looking at what this overall arching thing, or whatever, I think it tried to hit on everything: education, workforce, and empowerment. I'm not. It's really broad. And I'm like, if we could just kind of like pinpoint the thing for each of those actual topics, I really think that would probably be like a lot easier. But yeah, I have to admit that I haven't had getting a chance to do one-on-one for this thing. But like I stated, that whole defining it, I think is really going to be important because that's something a little bit more different that everyone may have a different idea about youth empowerment.
So maybe would the proposal be to maybe break education and workforce development up and then youth empowerment in its own category, or?
Councilwoman McCoy, would you like to follow up?
Oh, actually, I just wanted to just add this just from the introduction to that. I'm definitely engaged, and I would love to hear more about what you have and how you're going to try to address those three main topics of, what this committee is about.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Bracy?
Thank you. Initial feedback, I think this is a good start, and I think the committee is going to have to take some time to noodle on this a little bit. I do like what you have on the PowerPoint. I agree with Councilwoman McCoy that it's still very broad. The other point that I want to make is that we align very closely with the Department of Parks and Rec. So I want to make sure that we're not overstepping and that from the council standpoint, we are either making sure that what we're saying as a vision aligns with Parks and Rec, or are separate council initiatives. Like, for example, after school programming, literacy initiatives. I know a lot of that's already happening at Hicks. So I think those might be things that we don't necessarily have to take on because the department's already doing. And it could just be us looking at what's already happening and figuring out how to enhance. So I think there's also some of that we want to make sure that we know what's already happening, and then what is the part that council can play in this, in establishing something new or just expanding on what's already happening, so that we, because, a lot of this, the programmatic side of things, we don't really control. But I like where we're going, and I think to McCoy's point, the more we can be like laser focused on here are the three things. We start with this list, and then maybe we get it down to like the top three things that are going to be on this list, and then we also got to factor in the Office of Education Advocacy, how that all fits into all of this. So, like what I'm seeing so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I just want to say I think this is great information. I like the ideas of expanding early, childhood education. When we're trying to figure out the beginning of where our kids start their learning, their foundation, I think there's a critical part, especially when we bring on the office, how that can, really be influential in making sure that our Office of Educational Advocacy plays a vital part in early, education. And then especially like workforce development, I've always said once our kids graduate from high schools that might not be vocational, and they don't have any possibly a trade, you know, what is next for them if they decide that they don't want to go to college. So you just have those different things that I know we possibly could play a part. And I think Councilwoman Bracy spoke very highly on Park and Recreation, that some of the things they're already doing, is there something that we can enhance or we can get behind and support, especially with sponsorships, going out there trying to figure out how we can make more partners work together. So, all righty. Chief of Staff Elijah Simmons.
No, Director Phillips, raise your hand.
Oh, yeah. Just want to go ahead and acknowledge that President Congo is on the Zoom. And then I also want to go ahead and Councilwoman McCoy.
Yeah, I just had one statement. I didn't know whether or not this was true to all of the school districts in the area, but I do know that Christina School District actually does have early childhood education, and it's on both sides of town with Stubbs and with Pulaski. And I would just, I was curious. I didn't know whether or not Red Clay was actually doing the same thing. So, and that was something I would love to find out about.
All right. Do we have any other council members that have anything they would like to speak on? All righty. Dr. Melanie Phillips.
So good evening. Hearing all of you speak, I was just thinking that maybe we partner with council and this becomes another track. So for our youth workforce development program, we currently have a traditional track. We currently have a a workforce track, what's called our traditional internship track, and then next level for youth 17 to 24. So the immediate thought that comes to mind, obviously we'll need some support from council with funding for the youth wages, but we could turn the Youth Advisory Council into an actual workforce track connected to some of those career pathways, including the early childhood education.
Thank you so much for that comment. I also do have a question for you, Dr. Melanie Phillips. We're getting ready to bring on this Office of Educational Advocacy. We did have it. What's your thoughts around that position? Is there any way that possibly could tie into something that you have going on as well with youth engagement?
Yes. And you know what's so interesting is that when Dr. O was in the position, she and I worked really closely together. We presented quite a few times together at a few different school districts, including Lewis Elementary. So if there's any, feedback or pointers I can provide, I can definitely support. But yes, I think it definitely ties into Parks in reference to the office and the position itself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kendra or Chief of Staff Simmons.
No general comments. I think Dr. Phillips, Councilmember Bracy has her hand raised.
Okay.
Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Bracy.
Thanks. I just wanted to follow up on what Dr. Melody said to make sure that we have a follow-up conversation around that offline. I just want to make sure that was noted for the team. Thanks.
So yeah, and I would say to Councilwoman Bracy's point, maybe some things could be enhancing things that exist through the administration and not necessarily just creating them from scratch, but this gives us more direction about pulling out those initiatives, and even if it's just oversight or making sure that things stay going and continue. So next slide, please. So the next slide, we themed extracurricular support. Extracurricular support, based on the feedback from the chair, included expanding consistent out-of-school supports that provide stability, food access, mentorship, and engaging programming. So for the committee members where we saw alignment with the same topic would be expanding support for safe havens, community spaces, and preventative youth programming. And this would include leadership initiatives like the Wilmington Youth Advisory Council, encouraging family engagement and education, and expanding programming for girls within parks and recreation facilities. So these were some of the things that were mentioned in our discussions about strategic priorities for education, youth, and families. So we would love to hear your feedback on whether you feel like this theme is appropriate and the objectives that are listed here.
Councilwoman Bracy.
I'm just responding to I like it. I have no edits for that one.
we've been talking about, and I think the whole community is talking about how to continue to keep our kids safe. So I think out of school, is always important to making sure that we're trying to figure out how to keep them healthy by feeding them. I think Park and Recreation, once again, is doing a great job with that. They upgraded their food, sources, so it's better. They're eating better food. The kids is more happier. So a lot of times, if they're eating good at night, when they go in tomorrow for school, they're going to do better. So I think the food is really important, and I can't emphasize on that even enough. So.
And just to step in, I think this is a great opportunity since we have Director Phillips here to kind of speak to what something like expanding those safe havens could look like, specifically the safe haven at Hicks Anderson. What are some of those potential resources that you believe council could, consider looking at that you might need additional support for?
Are you saying you would like me to ask that question,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons? There you go, Dr. Phillips. I'm just playing.
So I wanted to make sure I heard the question correctly. It was in reference to Safe Haven and what additional supports for Safe Haven could council potentially support?
Yes.
Yes, so Safe Haven is really intricate in the summertime for William Hicks Anderson Community Center. It is truly when we extend our hours, and it starts July 1st and it runs through September 30th. It is funded by the Division of Services for Children, Youth, and Their Families. And so we extend our hours 4 nights a week. In fact, we just got approval on the flyer today. 1 night a week we stay open until 11 p.m. and then the other 3 nights we stay open until 10. One of the biggest things I could definitely see City Council supporting and participating in is if those, whether it's the youth advisory members coming over to provide tutoring, because or cultural activities, when we extend those hours, Safe Haven a long time ago used to be where it's just recreational activities, but that is no more. The grant with DSCYF specifically states that we have to provide cultural enrichment, educational enrichment, and recreational enrichment in that time frame in those extended hours. So if there are opportunities, if city council is like, oh, we can come and engage with the youth during that time frame about what the Wilmington Youth Advisory Council is, I think that would be stellar, because you'll have a lot more youth who would be interested, and they get a chance to learn about what the Youth Advisory Council does, just on that aspect. As a whole for city council, I would say anything that you feel like you're connected to and you're passionate about, and you want to come in and provide that service to our youth. We normally get anywhere between 40 to 50 youth during Safe Haven hours, because we are not allowed to turn any young person away during that time frame. And so I think that would be really intricate as well for city council to support in that area. We love city council, so the more the merrier. Come on over to Hicks.
And then also that, if I can, Mr. Chair, that last question,
Chief of Staff Simmons.
that last question related to expanding programs for girls. Is there anything that you think we could help there?
Yes, so I'm going to give you 2 shameless plugs. One, obviously, all of you know I'm connected to MSK Community Center, and so we have girls programming that runs there consistently on the first and third Saturday of the month from September through June. In fact, our Founders Day banquet is next Saturday. So you're talking about, just in the Wilmington chapter, about 25 girls at the MSK Community Center, which sits in Councilwoman McCoy's district. And we're always looking for both men and women to come in and talk to our girls about career pathways, how they started off in life. We even have a specific, from a male's perspective forum that's usually held in February. And so that's a really great way to engage. And then specifically at William Hicks Anderson Community Center, we have girls who are there that are always trying to figure out what to do. So we have a partnership with an organization called Natural Glow Self-Love Club, and they provide services to the girls there, and it's a really popular program. But I think if there's a way for city council to help market those programs for girls, because we're going to get the boys in the center, because they know that as long as they participate in some educational or cultural activity, they'll have an opportunity to get in the gym. But trying to get the information out more to the girls about some of the things that girls might want to participate in, including our Double Dutch program, trying to make sure that they are engaged with the Natural Glow Self-Love Club, trying to make sure that they just know that there's other opportunities in the city for them besides the sporting aspect, if that's not their interest. That's, always helpful. And of course, I'm always going to say that I will always gladly take city council's money. Thank you so kindly.
Well, let me just put that out there. It's not city council's money now. This is the city of Wilmington residents' money. But we're stewards of it. Councilman Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would also add in, just piggybacking off of this conversation, right now when we look at emerging workforces as well too, what type of programmings can we bring into our community centers, encourage through the city to really make sure that we're developing the youth for the next wave of jobs that are going to be available, right? So we look at robotics, we look at STEM, we look at coding as well too. What nonprofits can be strategically partnered with to make sure that we are preparing our kids properly for this. I think on top of all of it, all our programming should have some underlining opportunity for the youth to also learn financial literacy. I know this is something that was brought out with the Youth Council, the fact that they know about money, they know how to spend money, but they don't know what else to do with their money, how to make their money work for them. And it's something that if you learn it at a younger age, you can practice that for the rest of your life. So again, seeing how we can kind of intertwine those things into the fun activities as well too, while also thinking, not everything has to be about sports.
And just to piggyback off of what Councilman Owens is saying here, I came from VoTech, and I think vocational is just so important for our kids today, especially from urban areas, just to give them more opportunity. So imagine if they had an opportunity to go into a teen center, William Hicks after school, and didn't learn about apprenticeship or plumbing or electrical work. Like, I think that's something that could be beneficial. Like, you don't have it in your school, but William Hicks Anderson has a program for you to go do vocational track for the next, maybe it's a 5 to 7 or a 4 to 7. So now when you do graduate, you somewhat do have a certification or something to that area. I don't know if I can say this yet with Dr. Melanie, but I'm also for girls trying to figure out how we can get Harper's Heart inside of William Hicks Anderson, who has over 2,000 mothers, and they're trying to find a new home. So that's just, a little plug there. But Councilwoman McCoy?
Yes, thank you. Actually, my question was more so about engagement. So when Dr. Phillips actually spoke about some of the different things that were happening, especially at Hicks and also at MSK, I'm just curious because what I've been noticing, I don't know whether or not all of my colleagues have, but as the weather's gotten warmer, I'm seeing groups of children and they're trying to find activities and things to get into, which is something I could totally relate to when I was that age. The thing is, just trying to get them to understand that we have not only just we state stuff about like education, but then cultural. What is actually? Do we know what is actually going to pull them in through the doors and actually keep them engaged? That they actually want to keep coming back. It's so hard to try to keep their attention, and I just want to know: is there anything that's new or something that that we hadn't thought of that you have that will actually get these kids inside?
Chief of Staff.
Director Phillips.
Oh, Director Phillips.
I was waiting for the proper way to go. So
Thank you for that.
yes, thank you. So yes, one of the things that really gets our youth engaged is their ability to lead initiatives. So when you think about if you're promoting a particular program and activity, and before you get all the marketing out, if you say, "Hey, I'm thinking about having some sort of diversified youth flag football team," or "I'm thinking about having the brand new youth wellness hub that's at Hicks, but I'm not really sure which direction to go in. I've been talking to these adults, but I really need feedback." Then young people are going to jump on that, and then that's going to get them engaged, and then they'll follow through because now it's not just an idea that an adult brought to them, it's something that they're actually having the opportunity to lead on a consistent basis. And marketing is something that young people absolutely love doing. When I did my dissertation on youth engagement and youth spaces, one of the things that came out when I interviewed a significant amount of young people is they love to market activities. They love to market events and programs. And so if you have them actively engaged from the very beginning, then you will see that they'll participate more in whatever it is that you may have come up with. But as long as they're having the opportunity to lead it from the very beginning, that significantly helps. It's one of the reasons why I think we had such great turnout and influx during the building out of that teen wellness hub that's now sitting at Hicks, because the young people were actively engaged in that process. One of the reasons why we saw more than 250 youth participating in the Next Level Youth Summit is because the youth were the keynote speakers, they were the breakout session leaders, and so that was really important.
Thank you. I will turn it back over to Chief of Staff and Dr. Kendra.
And I would like to add, just for your consideration to some of the things you said in the conversation, one of the key points, and I think the reason that the Youth Advisory Council is mentioned so many times in the strategic priorities, is it does hold a lot of tools to be a key to these things. So, for example, the Youth Master Plan is something that is in the works with the Youth Advisory Council. One major component of the Youth Master Plan is to take a landscape analysis of what things exist for young people, make a directory of the youth services that there are, and also get their feedback on how those things could be enriched to the point that was made. So, and also the Office of Educational Advocacy was really built around the concept of the whole child model. So saying whether council has a school district or the city has a school district or not, there are many quality of life things that the city council can still do to impact children, like Mr. Chair, feeding kids and making sure that they go to school with nutritious things to be able to learn. So those are all I would offer for your consideration, things that could also be within council's purview for talking about extracurricular support and being able to impact children and families. So, next slide, please. And so that kind of ties in with this next topic of expanding access to opportunity. And so under this, we have conducting a citywide assessment of youth and family programs to identify gaps by district. Something, Madam Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, along the lines of the Youth Master Plan concept, improving communication so residents can easily find and access existing resources. And then from the committee members, we also heard feedback about simplifying outreach materials for those youth opportunities. So just kind of to open it up to discussion, whether you feel like this aligns, whether that theme is appropriate, and whether these objectives are something that you feel like should be included in the strategic priorities.
What I will say for communication, we have a lot of schools in our area that's around in mile range, maybe 2 or 3 miles. And I just think that even when we bring on an Office of Educational Advocacy person, that could be our pipeline for making sure that our communication is getting to all the kids in the community, not just one area. I just think that sometimes we could be sometimes relying on maybe council to be able to broadcast it or pushing it out to different areas. And, you know, if they do it or not, who knows? But now we do have this Office of Educational Advocacy that could go inside of all these different charter schools and public schools and making sure that, and building data for us to be able to have like, hey, listen, we contacted 5,000 kids or 2,500 parents or whatever the case may be, so that we can know that we did a good effort data-wise. Councilman Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think also going on this point of improving communications so residents can easily find and access existing resources. I think just the other night we had a really good discussion with our youth council about creating different social media avenues and how to really get the attention of people so that it's actually being beneficial and going to the right outlets. I think actually having them, have a more hands-on presence with coming up with a better communication strategy to reach out to their generation is going to be cool in the sense that they get to be hands-on with it, but also beneficial for council for the long run until this next generation comes up, because each generation consumes information and consumes resources in a different manner. So I think while we do have an engaged group that's willing to work with us, that we kind of incorporate them into that strategy a little bit.
Next slide, please. So the final theme is community partnerships and collaboration. And again, these kind of tie into each other because we've discussed these in some part in the other themes. But the chair mentioned elevating smaller grassroots organizations alongside the larger institutions. From the committee members, the feedback was about improving coordination between the city, child care providers, and educational institutions to address child care affordability and availability, and also supporting community-based youth programming through recreation centers and neighborhood organizations that provide structured after-school, summer, and mentorship opportunities. And so just opening it up to discussion about whether you feel like this topic is appropriate. The objectives that are listed are correspond, and whether you have any other thing that you feel like should be in this thing.
I think this is very good. My only thing would be is to have the numbers to be able to move forward. So basically what I mean by that is, we're asking for providers, we're asking for, organizations, nonprofit, but we need to bring them all together or find a way that we can put them all in one roof to see if anybody would be interested in this, instead of just going and saying, hey, listen, I want you to do this, or I want you to do this. I think people are interested, but I think people all need to come together. And we also need to evaluate different nonprofits and the different things that they do, early learning centers and different places where we could say, all right, this might be the best place for us to start. Councilwoman Bracy.
Thank you. I actually totally agree with what you're saying. I think that when I say elevate those smaller ones, it's like you just gave there a perfect example of one that serves families is Harper's Heart. And that's a small nonprofit here that's doing a lot of great work. And so whatever we can be doing, like you said, Councilman Hackett, to bring people together, to make sure that we know what everyone's doing, know what their needs are, but also we're promoting them. So when people are asking us what, where the resources are or where to go for this or where to go for that, then it's readily accessible that we are able to provide that information and we're able to promote them and say, hey, this is what's happening in our city. I think we spend so much time on what's wrong with the city that we're not talking enough about what's right with the city and what there is out there for our youth and our families already. As we start to try to build more things, there are already great things happening across our city. And I think we have a responsibility to make sure that we're promoting and we're letting people know. And to your point, bringing people together and convening them and seeing, who's doing what and how can we build a stronger ecosystem around our city to support families and kids. So that was the intention by what, my idea for this slide. So thank you.
And I agree. I think the number one thing also is the marketing. You can we could be here making a great product, but if nobody knows about it, then what's the point? So I think that the marketing has to be important. Like when I'm getting ready for the Jazz Festival, Tina Betts sends me out a text message every day. I get a text message about the Jazz Festival, because that's important to her, the city, and everything else. And so should us when we're talking about education. So we do have to figure out a way to have some type of mail-in system or app system where we're able to connect with parents frequently so that they know that we're on their minds about education and more things that we do. Then that's something that we probably should look at. Councilman Owens?
Yeah. And I just want to say we have those systems already. It's just we have to better utilize them and are able to get out the messaging to the community the way we need to.
Thank you. Chief of Staff Simmons?
I was just going to say one quick comment. I think the one thing that Councilmember Hackett mentioned as far as connecting those organizations with us is through the Office of Educational Advocacy. That is the one goal of the office, bridge the gap. So that is a perfect observation there. And then also, if I were to look at this conversation, I think that there's two key factors to it and things that this committee is looking to focus on. That's communication and partnerships. So finding a way for those two big keywords to be the focus of this, and I think that's a great initiative and endeavor for when we're going through and actually creating this strategic priority piece to the Education Committee.
The one thing, we created this office, and our president is online now, to have a voice in education. And to have a voice, maybe it's not in the curriculum, maybe it's not in the classroom. But like Dr. Kendra said, we can have a voice in so many different things. Everything that revolves around life, housing, food, and different things, that they all go back to our kids. So I just think that our Office of Educational Advocacy has a vital part that they could play in this strategic plan. So, and connecting the dots. Councilman Owens.
Yes, I agree with that point that you just raised, Mr. Chair. I think when we look at the Office of Educational Advocacy, we got to look at like what we have the power to do, right? And even if that's getting legislation down in Dover, what do we have the power to change, right? The school systems itself, the redistricting and everything, that's a conversation that has been going on longer than I've been alive, right? But we also look at what are some of the needs that we know are right here in the city of Wilmington. The fact is, in Christina School District, Red Clay, Brandywine School District, the Votex, we have a ton of kids who are unhoused, right? They're living in cars, living on couches and things. We should have been down in Dover advocating for additional funding for those students who use the McKinney-Vento program to make sure that they're getting vouchers to have somewhat of a stable living. That's bridging the gap to the resources and gaps that they're not getting right now. We have to look at how are, during the summertime, the food programs, how are we making sure it works? Not just getting food in the parks, but making sure that our families are still being able to be fed 7 days a week if they're living here in the city of Wilmington. Because again, as Councilman Hackett mentioned, a kid is not going to do well in the community or in school if they're hungry, right? All of us, if at our day jobs here in council, we get grumpy when we get hungry or hangry, whatever y'all want to call it, right? So expecting a young child who's still growing and developing not to have those same, hey, I don't want to listen to anyone, I don't want to deal with anyone right now, is insane for anyone to think. So food has to be at the center of that, right? We have to also try to work with the state to make sure that we're getting proper funding for a free lunch and breakfast program for our kids, and one that's not set up where the buses get the kids to school later than the meals are being served, right? And we have to understand, yes, we are in a shortage with bus drivers, but we need the schools. That's the type of advocacy that I thought was going to come from this office, right? That's what we missed this last year. We have to get things together better. I know we talk a lot about it, but we need to put some things into action when it comes to these things, because this is happening this school year, and it's going to happen next school year, and it's going to happen the following school year if we don't take a stand.
Thank you for that comment, Councilman Owens. You guys all good? All righty. So before we wrap up, I just want to say thank you to our Chief of Staff, Elijah Simmons, Dr. Kendra, and also our Chair of the Education, Youth, and Family Service, Ms. Councilwoman Bracy, for making sure that the strategic priorities came to light today. So thank you so much. Next, we're going to have Ms. Jamila Bishop for Grad Village Corporation presentation. So we're all ready for you. And when you go up there, just make sure you state your first and last name, and you can just go rock and roll. All right. Make sure WITN puts up the presentation. All right, they look like they're all good to go. You just got to tell them next slide when you're ready, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Jamila Bishop, and I am the founder and executive director of Grad Village, along with Wayne Smith, who is our president.
Thank you for your time today.
So, Grad Village was established out of my own personal need. 2 years ago, my son was a high school senior, and during that time, I had just been laid off from work. And so he's getting his acceptance letters, and he's excited. And I was excited too, because I had saved since he was a baby for his education, until I received his tuition bill, and I was happily humbled. I did not know that tuition was going to raise by 63% since he was a baby till now, and he is currently 18. Right. And so I thought I was going to have a conversation with him to let him know that We may have to try a different avenue because we may not be able to afford it. Before I did that, I had a conversation with a family member, and she reminded me that it took a village to raise a child, and I had the support of my family members and friends. But God put on my heart, it's not just you, it's other people that are in similar situations, and that we need to bring a village to them. And that's exactly what we did. Next slide, please. So we are a nonprofit organization, and we are looking to help students start, stay, and finish school successfully. And when they do that, they're able to move right into the workforce. Tonight, I'm going to share how we support Wilmington students and families by removing financial barriers that often stand between a student and their next chapter. We support students pursuing different education pathways from college, trade school, certification programs, or even workforce-aligned training. Next slide, please. See, the problem that we're addressing is simple but serious. Too many students do the hard part. They graduate from high school, get accepted into a school of their choice, enroll, and begin the training, but then have to stop because of a financial barrier. It could be something as simple as books, transportation, supplies, or a tuition gap. That holds students back. And when a student is forced to drop out because of money, the impact extends beyond the student. It affects their family, their future earning potential, and the local workforce. Next slide, please. Why does this matter? This matters because students don't lack motivation or education or ambition. They simply just lack financial support. Our goal is to step in before that barrier becomes a life-changing setback. Next slide, please. Grad Village is not just an education support program, it also helps our workforce development solution. When students cannot complete their final credits, access their transcript, or receive their diploma because of an unpaid balance, it can block them from employment opportunities, promotions, licensing, graduate school, or career advancement. That means a student may have completed the coursework, earned their credentials, and done the work, but still cannot fully use it in the workforce. By helping students, we remove those financial barriers and help students move from education into employment. We are helping students unlock the documents needed for employers, such as transcripts, and helping to strengthen Wilmington's education to workforce pipeline. Next slide, please.
Perfect.
And, okay. So in addition to direct student support, Grad Village also plans to offer student and family workshops as funding and capacity allow. These workshops may include college readiness, financial literacy, career exploration, scholarship and grant search support, FAFSA assistance, trade school and certification preparation, and student success strategies. We also want families to feel supported and informed because students do not go through this journey alone. Many families want to help, but they may not understand tuition bills, financial aid letters, institutional balances, or the steps required to keep a student enrolled. By educating both students and families, we can help prevent small barriers from becoming major setbacks. Next slide. So how it works. Our process is designed to be simple but responsible. First, the student applies for support and shares their situation. Second, Grad Village verifies the need and confirms that the request is education related. Third, the student submits documentation. That may include an acceptance letter, proof of enrollment, a tuition bill, a balance statement, or a vendor cost. We actually confirm this with the school, trade school, college, or university. Fourth, the application is reviewed against our verified criteria. And then finally, once approved, payment is sent directly to the school or the vendor, not to the student, and that is where we are very transparent about. We want to make sure every dollar is tied to a documented need and used for its intended purposes. Okay, next slide. The Finish Line Fund is our signature program. This fund is designed for students who are close to completing their education but are blocked by financial barriers. So we categorize it in two different groups. The Diploma Lock. The Diploma Lock program is basically for students who completed the credentials but have an outstanding balance and it's stopping them from being able to obtain their degree. So this is where we help usually pay off that balance, and it's surprisingly anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 that stops them from even obtaining their diploma or degree. The other one is last mile funding, and those are for students who have 20 credits or less remaining before they actually finish their program. Next slide. And we talked about the workshops already, so we can go to the next slide. So accountability and safeguards, we kind of touched on that a little bit. We want to make sure that anytime we receive funding, it actually goes to its intended purpose. So again, students do not receive any of the monies that we receive from donors, partners, or public leaders. We verify the need, we prove their enrollment or acceptance, and we check tuition and balance information and collect documentation to track outcomes. We also use student story permission forms, maintain donor transparency, and have policies in place to address false information. Our goal is to protect everyone involved. Next slide. So the impact that we'll track, for Wilmington, we would track the number of students served, including students in priority zip codes such as 19801, 19802, 19805. Why is this prevalent? Because this is also the zip codes that has the highest unemployment rate. And it's not because they don't want to work. A lot of times it's because they are unable to obtain financial assistance to get their degrees or attend trade schools or certification programs. We would track reduced tuition balances, diplomas, and transcripts unlocked, especially by the last mile students supported, and we would also track total dollars received, as well as how that assisted the student in the area of need. We would also track how many students in these zip codes have attended and been successful when utilizing our program. Okay. Next slide. So what are we asking for? We are asking to work and partner with Wilmington and help with the community-based education and workforce development and be a partner. Specifically, we're asking for connections with Wilmington students, some youth serving organizations, workforce programs, employers, or even funding partners. We're also open to exploring a Wilmington Finish Line Fund pilot that would help students overcome diploma lock, unpaid balances, and last mile completion barriers. Every student deserves the chance to finish what they started, and with the city's support, Grad Village can help remove the financial barriers standing between students and their next chapter. We thank you for your time and your service and your commitment to Wilmington students, families, and the future workforce. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming. Grad Village Corporation, this is outstanding work that you guys are doing, especially like one of those things that's like a hidden gem. You know, everybody, we have HBCU week and they're getting kids to college, you know, but there are kids that are trying to fight to make it and stay in college every semester because that balance is just there.
Exactly.
So you guys are just trying to figure out, can we continue to, support, and especially the last mile. Like, I like the idea of that because there are some kids today that it's just simple things. Maybe they got a parking ticket they didn't know about. Maybe they got something that they just didn't know about that's on their account, and they're getting ready to graduate, and they tell them it's not happening.
Nope,
And
exactly.
they have
They
no
hold on to
funding.
it.
They have no way. So we're going to open it up for questions.
Okay.
Councilwoman Bracy, she's going to start it off.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, agreed. This is a great presentation. I'm really interested in exploring, this more. I just wanted to check. Have you already started giving out scholarships, or is it or giving out funding or are you just launching now?
We are just launching now. We have already started raising funds, and we are helping 6 students right now.
Yeah.
6 students right now, yeah.
Oh, wow. Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Yes, yes.
So I would love for us to keep this conversation going to see how we can support your work and learn more about how we can help you get connected to students and other resources, because I do think that this is a great initiative, and it's needed because, as Councilman Hackett said, I went to Delaware State, and there were a lot of my friends, including myself, that you started to struggle and try to figure out how are you going to find $700 or $1,000 to pay this bill so that you can get your grade. Like, it's usually not a lot of money that some of these kids are struggling to come up with, or their parents, so that they can continue their education. So I really love the idea, and I also appreciate that you're not just limiting to college, but also trade schools, which I think extremely important, because there are a lot of youth nowadays that don't want to go to college, but they may want to take up a trade or a certificate program so that they can get credentialed quickly and get to work. So really like what you're doing here.
Thank you.
And what I will say is, we as council, we get discretionary funds, and some of us, we decide how we're going to give some of our funds to education, to different nonprofits. And I think for me, I'm an education guy, so I try to give most of my money to education. But I would love to be able to partner with a nonprofit that's helping in this type of, situational thing. So I'm gonna pledge my support. I don't know how much it's going to be, but we're going to follow the conversation and figure out how we can get something done on my end. And then I think when you do go on our website and on our community support and you file an application, you're welcome to pick multiple council members as well for some of their discretionary funds to help some of our kids in the city of Wilmington.
No, absolutely. So right now we do have 603 students on our wait list for the city of Wilmington alone.
Nice.
And so that's why we're like, okay, we
Wow.
need to get this out and get, more funding so we can support these particular students. We had gone through the NSF I-Core program when we were doing our customer discovery, and we talked to so many professors, advisors, families, parents, students, and they all shared the same thing. It's just a financial barrier. Some of them, students explained that they were working 2 and 3 jobs, but it was affecting their grades. So now they're losing scholarships because they can't keep their grades up in order to, do what they need to do. They can't focus on that. They're focusing on trying to pay for it, but we want to shift that focus to, go to school, pay attention, do what you need to do so you can be successful.
And I do have one question. This could be something that you provide for me later, but I wonder, what does you guys follow up look like? Once they receive the funding, maybe it's their junior year, or they or their senior year, and they get the funding, they graduate. Are you following up to see, did they get a job? Did they, just to see how you guys, the benefit of what you guys are inputting, where did it lead them to?
Absolutely. We actually have our exit program strategy. So once they they complete their final semester, then we actually have an exit strategy interview with them. So we ask them, okay, how have you talked to any employers? Have you found employment? What does that look like for you? Because one of the things that we're working on too is we have corporate partners that we're working with now and retail sponsors, and seeing if we can even get them to work with them even before graduation. So if they do an internship with them and then have a job lined up thereafter.
Perfect. No, well, we always could need internships as well. So just wanted to say that. So,
Okay.
now, once again, thank you so much for presenting today. See if any other council, do you have any councilmen on? You all good?
Yeah, I would just like to be added to that commitment that Councilman Hackett made as well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so what I will say is before you leave, if you could, also, this is live, so we want, people that have great programs to be able to tell people where can we find you, for people to sign up, where's your website, Instagram, different things to that nature.
So all on social media, we are Grad Village. And then for our website, it is gradvillage.org. And then I can be emailed directly at jb@gradvillage.org as well.
Perfect. No, listen, thank you so much for the presentation. Honestly, I haven't heard anything like this before, so you're on the right track, and I think our kids need this. So, we look forward to seeing your application that you're going to apply for us to support, and then hopefully we have you come back in and just talk to our group again and see, if there's any way we can support you further. So, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All righty. As we move along in the journey of this agenda, looks like I have 4 pieces of legislation. We should have passed it to Councilman Owens, but I'm gonna go ahead and take on it. The first piece is a resolution approving the Department of Parks and Recreation grant application to the State of Delaware Department of Education to support the city's summer 2026 food service program. I am the sponsor of that. Make sure I have the right one. Sorry about that. Thank you. All right, this resolution authorized the Department of Park and Recreation grant application to the State of Delaware Department of Education in the amount of $463,553.20, or such other amount that the Department of Education awards. The grant funds will be used to reimburse the city for meals provided in the city's 2026 Summer Food Service Program, which will provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner during the months of June through August 2026 to children via local community centers, camps, and other organizations. No local matching funds are required. Is there any questions? All righty, that's why I love y'all. We're gonna go ahead and move to the next speech. Just letting you know these resolutions don't have to be voted on in committee. Next, we're gonna go ahead and move to a resolution approving the Department of Park and Recreation grant application to the State of Delaware Department of Labor to support the city's youth career development program for summer 2026 and the 2026-2027 school year. All right. This resolution authorized the Department of Park and Recreation grant application to the State of Delaware Department of Labor in the amount of $190,000 or such other amount that the Department of Labor awards. The grant funds will be used to fund wages for youth participation in the Youth Career Development Program during summer 2026 and the 2026-2027 school year. No local matching funds are required. Does anybody want to speak on this? Dr. Melanie Phillips? No, okay. Okay, we're all good on that?
Yep, coming off mute. So yes, this is a grant. The first grant that Councilman Hackett read was in reference to our summer food service program. This is cost reimbursement. We submit meal claim forms to the Department of Education, and that's how we are reimbursed for the meals that we are ultimately buying from our vendor, the Community Education Building. The second resolution is in reference to the Department of Labor grant. This funds youth wages only. And so this one, it's really easy. The Department of Labor funds the youth wages at minimum wage. We submit all of the receipts from every single youth that worked during the summer youth program this particular summer that we're in right now. And then any of the youth who apply and successfully get hired for our 2026-2027 academic year.
Thank you so much, Dr. Phillips. We're going to go ahead and move to the third resolution. As a resolution approving the Department of Park and Recreation grant application to Bank of America support the Next Level Internship portion of the Youth Career Development Program for summer 2026. This resolution authorized the Department of Park and Recreation grant application to Bank of America in the amount of $75,000 or such other amount that Bank of America awards. The grant funds will be used to fund wages for youth participants in the Next Level Internship portion of the Youth Career Development Program during the summer 2026. No local matching funds are required. Dr. Phillips, would you like to speak on this one?
Yes, this is specifically for our next level youth. This is for youth 17 to 24. This grant from Bank of America funds the wages for those youth, so that way we're not pulling from the general fund, since that was a brand new program we launched last year. and Bank of America is supporting us by paying the wages of those youth.
Thank you so much. And then our last resolution, approving the Department of Park and Recreation grant application to the State of Delaware Department of Service for Children, Youth, and their Families to support the city's out-of-school time program for the 2026-2027 school year. This resolution authorizes the Department of Park and Recreation grant application to the State of Delaware Department of Service for Children, Youth, and their Families in the amount of $328,987.59, or such of other amount that the Department of Service of Children, Youth, and their Families awards. The grant funds will be used to reimburse the city for the costs associated with the implementing a citywide out-of-school time program designed to provide safe, structured, and enriching environment for the youth during high-risk out-of-school hours for the 2026-2027 school year. No local matching funds are required. Dr. Phillips, would you like to speak on that?
Yes, and also, Councilman Hackett, just one point of clarification. Bank of America should be 50,000 instead of 75K in place. That needs to be updated. But as it relates to the DSCYF out of school time grant, this is a really robust grant. This will have Parks and Recreation serving as the lead, and we will be offering out of school time program services to a couple of satellite locations where we are providing cultural, educational, and recreational activities, including some requirements of the grant, which means the Sandy Hook Promise training, suicide prevention training, as not only to the staff who are going to be who are going to be running the program, but also to the youth who are going to be in the program. And so what that looks like is that Parks and Recreation, through our Youth and Family Services Division, will be, if successfully awarded, will be responsible for these out-of-school time sites at William Hicks Anderson Community Center, MSK Community Center, the PAL Wilmington, and the new CEB Youth Development Center. They are all extended partners. One of the specific things around the grant is that they were looking for one particular organization to take the lead and partner with several organizations across the city, and we tried to make sure that that was shown in our application.
No, thank you. Perfect. Thank you so much for all that information. Very delighted. Councilman Owens?
Yes, just real quick on the last resolution. Sorry, I know she just mentioned this. You said that the Bank of America award is 50,000,
correct.
not 75,000. Correct.
Correct.
Correct. We applied for 75,000, but Bank of America, they had some own cuts, so they said more than likely we'll end up getting 50,000.
Okay. Thank you for that.
We got any other questions from any other council members? Any members from the public? All righty. So at this time, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
Public comment.
Oh, public comment? Do we have any public comment at this moment? I was a little fast on it, fast on the feet, That's why they call me Speedy.
You good?
WI10, thank you so much. So I will accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Can we get a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.